Hey everybody, this is Brett Grayson of Tactical Pay Radio, reminding you that the podcast you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. Check out all the great content at selfdefenseradio.net.
Welcome to Unload and Show Clear, the podcast about all things IDPA. And now, here's your host, a man for whom getting stuck in traffic was the only thing worse than sticking around for day one of nationals, Lloyd Bailey.
Welcome to another episode of Unload and Show Clear. This is a podcast about the men and women who compete in IDPA, International Defensive Pistol Association. Now, I've been attending IDPA matches since 2011, and over the years, I've met some really amazing people thanks to this sport. Ignore all the colorful jerseys and the sponsor logos, and underneath you're going to find everyday men and women who volunteer their time and their effort and spend their hard-earned dollars on travel, match fees, and gear to make this sport great. And today you're going to meet another one of these awesome people. But first, I want to thank today's sponsor. For the reloaders in the audience, I've got a question for you. Have you ever ordered reloading supplies online? If so, who do you call when you need help or you need something special? When you call, do you talk to a customer service rep or can you talk to the owner? Well, if you'd prefer a personal touch and great customer service, talk to my friend Jim Swindle at US Reloading Supply. Jim is a retired law enforcement officer who's been reloading since 1972, and he founded US Reloading Supply back in 2014 as a family operated business focusing on helping shooters get the components that they need at the best prices. If you've got a special order, large quantities, or something you can't find at another website, call them for a quote and they will help you find what you need at a great price. Get all the top brands, get 100% satisfaction guarantee, never pay sales tax, and get free shipping on all non-hazmat items. Check them out online at usreloadingsupply.com. That's usreloadingsupply.com. Or call them today, 941-451-7357, and tell them you heard about it on Unload and Show Clear. Our special guest today is Aaron Ragusa from Normal, Illinois. Aaron, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Lloyd. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for being with us. Tell us a little about yourself and what you do for a living there in Normal.
Sure thing. I do information security for a insurance company that's based here. I do what's called penetration testing, and for lack of a better term or a more politically correct term, it's essentially hacking. So I try to find the security holes before the bad guys do and get those to the right people to have them fix the issues before they're found. I am husband and father. I have twin 3-year-old girls who absolutely love and adore. They're amazing. As far as IDPA is concerned, I'm the match director of our local club, Bloomington IDPA, when we shoot at Darnell's Gunworks in Bloomington. I'm also the match director for the Illinois State IDPA Championship. It's a Tier 3 match. Mm-hmm. And I'm also the state coordinator for Illinois for IDPA.
Wow, you have got your hands full. Twins and coordinating and match directing.
It is a handful, but I couldn't see myself doing anything else. I enjoy it so much.
Rural area, is that where you grew up, or did you migrate there?
I'm originally from Peoria, Illinois, which is, again, right kind of smack dab in the state, about 45 minutes from here. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. Grew up around guns?
No, not really, honestly. My first experience with a firearm was a 22 in the Boy Scouts and a 20 gauge, doing those merit badges. I did have a BB gun. That was, I wouldn't say, firearms, but I did have a BB gun where we shot soda cans in the backyard. Right. Up until the backyard started getting a little bit more developed, they put in baseball fields, and my dad's like, well, you can't shoot that direction anymore.
Right.
Yep.
So so you grew up shooting 22s. How did you get interested in handguns, and where did the interest in competitive shooting come from?
The first time I got interested in handguns is a friend of mine took me to the range to shoot something more than a 22, and it was love at first trigger pull. This is something I have to have. This is something I have to do. My first handgun was a Taurus PT 24/7 because that's all I could afford on a college kid's budget. Uh, but it was also in college that I first got into, or at least looked at IDPA. And when I finally got out of college, I was able to compete. I saw IDPA for the first time on Shooting USA on the Outdoor Channel, and I looked at it with my eyes wide open, going, "I have to do this." So I went to the IDPA website and I found our local club. It was, a few miles from my apartment at the time, and I went and I watched the first time, and immediately traded that Taurus in for a Glock 34 because that was the thing that everybody was shooting.
Right.
And it was just a great coincidence that there happened to be a club, and that's the same club that I now run, just a few miles down from my place.
Very cool. So what do you remember about that first local match that you shot?
I would not be able to escape this interview without bringing this up, because my friends who I all told I was doing this, they would hassle me if I didn't tell you this story. Stage 3 of that match, I walked on to the bay, had one loaded magazine in my pocket, and load and make ready, and I did it, and I had nothing in my mag pouches. There was absolutely nothing there. I went to go back, and I pulled out just air, and that was I have never done that again. If you see me at a match today, I'm checking my mags 3-4 times before I start a stage. One, just to make sure that they're there and that they're loaded.
Yep. That's a lesson you only have to learn once.
Yes, absolutely.
I had that happen not quite that bad. I made the mistake of putting, half loaded magazines after I'd finished unload and show clear, put the magazines back in my mag pouch, and then forgot to top off my mags at the next stage, and got halfway through and was like, "Oh, hey, reload. Oh, there's nothing in that magazine. Oh, let me grab the other one. Oh, there's only 3 in this magazine."
Doing your tap rack and the slide just not going anywhere.
Yep, exactly.
Love it.
Yep. So how long after that did you get serious and start practicing and trying to get better? And how often were you, going to local matches? And at what point did you decide to take the leap and go to a sanction match?
So my first sanctioned match was Illinois State in 2011, and after that match, I was driving. We were in a little convoy driving back up to Normal with the old match director, Jeff Blizzard, and that we stopped for dinner, and that's when he said, "Hey guys, I'm moving to Florida. I need someone to take over the club," and that's when I jumped at it. That was my first sanctioned match, and then it was kind of the starting point of everything I do now with IDPA. As far as getting interested in sanctioned matches, I did spend some time at the club level before I jumped into a sanctioned match, and that's slowly working up from. I classified as a marksman, and slowly working up for there. I didn't really get serious about practice until pretty recently, sometime this year, where I competed at the Midwest Regional in CCP. I was very lucky because there's a lot of people that compete at the Midwest Regional in Missouri, and I was very lucky enough to even get a piece of hardware. I took home 4th place in CCP Sharpshooter. So I've been listening to other podcasts. Mike Seeklander's podcast is one of mine that I listen to a lot, and picked up a tool that he recommends, the Cool Fire Trainer, and been practicing with that in my basement a lot recently. Doing reloads. I have targets hanging up all over the basement. Brad Edens, who I know you had on the show, he's been a kind of a mentor to me. I would ping different things off of him, and he was a CCP division champion at nationals this past year. So I have good communication with him, and he's helped me out quite a bit. And I'm since then I've taken it off on my own, where I have the shot timer down in the basement. I have a couple decks of dry fire training cards. I flip a card over. All right, that's the drill I'm going to do tonight, and just that increase in dry fire has helped me immensely. I would like to earn my expert by the end of next year is my plan.
Very cool. So you went to your first sanction match and then immediately took over as match director of your home club?
I did. I jumped in feet first on that one. It was very much baptism by fire. I was so paranoid at that first match that I ever ran by myself. My stage design, I'm like, I don't know if I can handle this. I don't know if I can handle people moving and shooting. So the stages I designed were all either standing and shooting from one position or moving, and I quickly got out of that because I started designing stages where I kind of intentionally a little bit wanted to be a jerk to people, putting tiny steel in front of non-threats and things like that.
Oh, you're one of those people.
Yes, I am one of those people. I love it, and I get 50% grumbles, 50%. I love it. It makes me it forces me to slow down, forces me to focus and make good shots, and that's kind of what I want. I want that good mix.
So, talk about that baptism by fire. How did you you were just looking for an opportunity to get more involved. Did you have any idea what you were getting yourself into, and how did you sort of just learn? I mean, did you have other people that you could lean on there at the club, or were you just sort of learning on your own?
Absolutely. We have a fantastic club and everybody supports each other. Perfect example. I'm not going to be able to make our December match. So, club members are taking it over. They are saying, hey, we're going to come to your house. We're going to pick up the trailer, which has all of our walls and steel and stuff in it. And we're going to tow it out to the range and we're going to set it up. So we still have a monthly match. And that's just the kind of people that I work or I set up matches with. I have the support from. At first, it was quite the challenge when I said yes to doing this. I was one of those kids. I was fresh out of college, new job, and I bought this two-door BMW 3 Series. And I'm like, I can't take stuff out to the range in this, obviously. So I had to trade that in for GMC Sierra. That's quite a jump for a kid who's right out of college and just starting to take over a club. Some might say I have an issue saying no to people, but I think that's a good thing.
That depends. I guess you're
Absolutely.
So, what was that? Do you remember the first match that you directed? How long after that night around the dinner table when they said, okay, I need somebody else to take over, and you jumped in? How long after that was it before you were running your own match?
It was a few months. We have one match a month, and it was a few months after that before it was fully transitioned over to me. We had our big hurrah going away match, I guess you could call it, for the outgoing match director, and we had people who had never shot IDPA who were just friends of the guy who had never shot before. Because he was going away, they wanted to come out. And that made me even more nervous because now I have a bunch of new people, and me being fairly new myself, it was a little overwhelming. My wife, who she's crazy supportive of all the things that I say yes to. She's the one. She brought out water for everybody. She was making sure everyone was doing good. She helped with the match in any way she could. She was scoring. She was pasting targets. So both a great family support and great shooter support really helps me through all of that.
Absolutely. So talk about how you became the director of the match director for the state match.
Sure.
How did that come about?
So I had been running local matches and SOing state level matches for a while, and then the outgoing area coordinator, Jeff Duckworth, he was the match director for that for the Illinois State match for a while, and it just I think maybe a little bit of burnout set in, and he just thought maybe it's time to hand it off to someone new. And the first thing that someone said to him, and I believe it was my friend Bart Carson, said to him, "What about Aaron taking over his match?" And then from what I was told, Jeff's eyes kind of opened up and like, yeah, he'd be good at it. And Jeff asked me. I said, absolutely, I will. I will do my best to make sure this is a good quality match. And ended up our first match. The theme was Hollywood shootouts. So that was the first thing I wanted to do, was sit down and design these stages. And so I went through and I watched a whole bunch of Hollywood shootouts on YouTube. And I'm like, my favorite one was I think it was Bad Boys 2. Where there's a scene in a Haitian drug den, and they have him and Will Smith and Martin Lawrence have a shootout there, and I turned that into a stage that got either a lot of thumbs up or a lot of thumbs down. People didn't like it because it had a drop turner, an up down, and a clamshell all on the same stage, and people were looking like, "What were you thinking?" And other people were like,
Oh,
this is the best stage I've ever shot." I have a lot of fun with it. That's I know. This year's theme is going to be in the line of duty, and I'm taking police badge cam footage and turning those into stages to kind of show people, this is what officers might face every single day. And I have 11 stages for next year already built, already approved by the AC, and our match isn't even until June of next year. That's the part that gets me excited and keeps me excited about it, is all the fun I can have designing these scenarios. Since I took over as match director for the Illinois State match, it's been a charity match. Our charity is Illinois Concerns of Police Survivors, or Illinois Cops, the Illinois chapter of that national charity. And last year, my first year running the match, we were able to donate $2,000 to that charity. And in the match book, I have a dedications page to all the Illinois fallen officers of that year. I was hoping not to have to have that this year. Unfortunately, we recently lost a Chicago police officer, and I have a lot of friends who are police officers locally and who I see at matches when I travel, and it's really all for them. They're the ones who inspired me to do this.
very, very cool. So you talked about the first match that you did. You were nervous about giving people lots of movement and things going on, and so you kept it simple. Talk about how you have grown in terms of your stage designs and how that sort of evolution took place. Now you're doing 3 movers in one stage, where before your shooters weren't even moving.
Sure thing. Part of it was, as you said, self-confidence in designing those stages and managing those shooters. That grew in time. Another big issue of it was equipment. The range that we shoot at doesn't really provide any equipment. It's an open base. So I had to acquire the walls and whatnot. We were using snow fence, but it wasn't very tall. You could easily, it was at waist level. So I had to tell the shooters, so yeah, this goes up to the sky to infinity. Please don't shoot over it. And that was back in the days before cover lines and all that, under the old rule book. But eventually, as the club grew, the club started making money. I was saving that money and using it for website hosting to buy steel. I was able to start making my own walls. I bought a trailer to start hauling stuff out to the range with. As I mentioned earlier, when we had our twins, car seats don't really fit in the back of a Sierra, so I had to get an Acadia, and now I have to tow the trailer whenever I go out there. So part of it was confidence, which grew very quickly. The support structure is amazing, and part of it was equipment. So once I was able to get walls and better steel, I was able to start messing with the shooters a little bit more.
So as you've become more involved at the match director end of it, do you get to shoot as much, or what's the you're talking about the goal of reaching expert next year? How hard is it to balance the running your local matches and planning for your for the state match that you run, and then trying to improve as a shooter at the same time?
It is a delicate balance. I do still get to shoot several matches a year. Usually, I shoot the Missouri State match, which is now the Midwest Regional, which is a fantastic charity match for the Backstoppers, which is very similar to Illinois Cops charity, but it's based in St. Louis. And I get to shoot the Prairie Dell Shootout, which is a Tier 2, also in Illinois. The Holiday Havoc match, Illinois State, and I want to grow that list. And it all comes back to that family support structure. My wife is amazing, and watching the girls and understanding that this is something I love to do. I'm going to go shoot these matches. As far as Illinois goes, I didn't. I think it's true that you never really place well at your own match because you have a million other things running in your head. I started. The morning of the staff shoot, I was excited. I'm like, all right, we're going to test everything, and everything's going to go smooth. And that is Murphy got in the way. We had to finish setting up a few stages, we realized that, oh, you can see this target from here, but you weren't supposed to on the diagram. Like, all right, no one shot this stage yet, so we got to stop and move some things around. And I wear a GoPro. I usually record all my stage just because I think it's fun to do. And by stage 6 or 7, I'm like, I'm not even turning on my camera anymore. Let's just get this done so I can focus on the match.
So, what kind of stages do you like to run as a shooter? And is that the kind of do your personal taste, the things that you like to do, how does that affect your design of stages as an MD?
I like stages that don't have very long shots on them. I can do run and gun. I can do stationary, but anything that kind of stops your flow as you go through the stage where you have to stop. And it was the Missouri match, or the Midwest regional match this past year, where there was a stage where you started in a vehicle and you ran into a building that they had set up, and there was a long shot with a non-threat attached. I think the match director put it right at the distance where it was still a legal stage, and then stuck a non-threat on it. And I shot that stage, and I hit the non-threat, and then I think an activator didn't happen, so like, you get a reshoot. Yes, I can not screw up this again. And I reran the stage, and I still hit the non-threat at the far distance, and it just I didn't like that. But given the choice, I would take a stage with a lot of movement in it, and those are kind of my favorite.
How old are your daughters?
They're 3 years old.
Oh my goodness! So you got a ways to go. I was going to ask if they.
Oh yes, they're just getting started out. Great Black Friday deal that I took advantage of. Julie Gollub's book on child gun safety was free on Amazon, so it's a children's book focused on firearm safety. So I started reading that to them, and they can point to it, and they know it's. They look at it and say, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Well, honey, that's a firearm." And so I can't wait to take them out to the range for the first time, teach them what I know, and I'm not going to force them to pick anything up, but I really hope that they do.
I imagine they probably will.
Oh, I hope so.
So you're now also you've become the coordinator for the state of Illinois. Talk about we've mentioned on the show before. We've talked about area coordinators. We've interviewed obviously Brian Erler, who is one of the area coordinators. What are the responsibilities of the state coordinators? What does that responsibility involve?
It's a very new role for IDPA. I report to my area coordinator is Joe Tyson, and he is over Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Kentucky. So pretty large area. So it's a very new role, and it's kind of meant to be the intermediary. It's a person you can bounce ideas off of. It's you are the guy for Illinois clubs to come to talk to, and so it'd be things that ACs do. There's some stage review, bouncing ideas off of. We recently had a safety officer class. I don't need to have my credentials re-upped, but I went and drove over there anyway, just introduce myself to people and say, you know what, if you need anything related to IDPA or shooting in general, just let me know, and whatever I can do, I will do it. So still waiting on that role, I think, to be defined a little bit more, because like I said, it's very new, but whatever it is, I'm looking forward to it, just to help grow the sport in Illinois, or grow the shooting sports in general in Illinois.
We're not a political show, and I don't want to get into specifics about the politics of gun law in Illinois. Those familiar with guns and state laws shouldn't be obviously. They should obviously know what Illinois is like. What kind of a challenge does that present for competitive shooting in the state of Illinois?
I'll preface this with, I'm not a lawyer. Illinois residents are required to have a firearms owner's identification card, a FOID card. The card pretty much says, yes, I've been background checked, I'm allowed to buy firearms and ammunition. You can't even handle a gun at a gun store without presenting your FOID. However, it does make some considerations for those traveling from out of state. It's well published of how they want you to transport a firearm. If you come to a match in Illinois from out of state, generally you're not going to have a problem. The general rule is that as long as you are with somebody who has a FOID card, you're good. You are considered a guest to them, and as long as someone has a FOID card, you're good. Magazine capacity limits and things like that. There's no statewide law on a magazine capacity. There are several city ordinances that you probably should be aware of, especially in the northern part of the state. But down around here, it's generally no issues with magazine capacities. And most police officers, at least that I'm friends with, are very pro 2A and don't seem to have an issue with it.
So traveling to the Illinois State match would not. What considerations for someone from out of state? What should they consider when they're driving in with their competition gear? What should they consider in terms of securing the firearms, or what are the regulations there?
Sure. Illinois is a little weird in that we have two separate laws. There's the DNR, the Department of Natural Resources rules of firearms transportation, and then there's a state rule. Generally, both of those rules agree on the fact that the firearm should be unloaded and enclosed in some sort of case. I also teach concealed carry classes in Illinois. Only Illinois residents really will ever have an Illinois concealed carry permit. They don't issue them to out-of-state residents except in very few circumstances. I think when the state has similar mental health checks as Illinois does, and there's only like a handful of states that allow that. In that case, it has to be loaded and on, or sorry, it doesn't have to be loaded, but it has to be on your person and concealed.
Gotcha. So obviously, if you're from out of state and you have a permit from another state, don't even try to carry across the state line, right?
Yeah, Illinois does not recognize any other state's concealed carry permit.
So through all of this, the final question that you know is coming, what is it about IDPA that has hooked you so much that you've gone from, shooting a local match to immediately taking over as match director, almost immediately taking over as match director of your club and running matches, and now running, now a state coordinator for Illinois? What is it about this sport that you love so much that keeps you doing it?
The easy answer, the correct answer, and the obvious answer is the people. And that's what I know from listening to all your previous episodes. That's what everybody says. So I want to with this question, I want to take a little bit of a different spin and say that my second reason is stage design. I love designing stages that have a little bit of strategy to them. I love stages that make people, when they see the diagram, they look up at me and go, "What the heck were you thinking?" And those who shot my match last year, the Illinois State match last year, they know that same Bad Boys stage, that's the one where I had people with a bunch of logos on their jerseys. They're like, I've never shot anything like this one before. And that's what I want to do. I want to get that reaction out of people, just so they know that they had fun. And I made it a point, and I think I came pretty close. I wanted to shake every single competitor's hand. So I'm driving around in the golf cart, stopping at each squad, saying, "Hey, I'm Aaron. I'm the match director. How's your day going? What can I do? What can I do for you? What do you like? What don't you like?" And so yeah, people's number one, but definitely that stage design, that element of fun that I can create with these stages is number two. Very cool.
Well, Aaron, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, and thank you for the memes and everything that you do for the sport, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank our guest for coming on the show and our sponsors for making all of this possible. Take a moment, if you would, to check out the website, check out our show notes at unloadpodcast.com. We've got lots of interviews with more amazing guests like the one you heard today. Join our Facebook group at unloadpodcast.com/Facebook for all the latest updates and to connect with other fans of the show. And if you'd like to support the show, we sure would appreciate it. Consider becoming a patron at unloadpodcast.com/extra. I've got some full-length interviews and special content available there exclusively for patrons as well. And if you know somebody or you yourself would make an interesting guest for a future episode of Unload and Show Clear, please contact me at lloyd@unloadpodcast.com or click on the contact page on the website and send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Tune in again next time for another episode of Unload and Show Clear.